Hi, hey everyone, welcome to this weekly update video for Monday the 27th of March. 2 week interval between this video and the previous weekly update video, simply because I didn't really have time, but also because I would have made time for it if necessary, but there just wasn't that much to do a video, and I'm really not going to make like a 3-minute video just to say, okay, this is what's happened, nothing particular. It's just better to merge it into one, which is sometimes going to happen. So let's get into it. There's a couple of things to talk about over the past few weeks and going into next week. The first thing is Cross the Pond, which will take place on Saturday. And I just want to point you to the pilot briefing that took place. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it in the WhatsApp community group. And I would highly encourage you, especially if this is your first Cross the Pond, to read, to listen to it, I should say, but also to read through the documents that you'll get sent for your respective airports before the event. Hopefully they'll come out later this week. They're briefings for the airports. Now, not all the information will be relevant because a lot of it might be talking about taxi routings and gates and this kind of stuff. But some of it, including what you can expect for arrival procedures, departure procedures. So it might talk about some of the SIDS and stars you can expect, some of the restrictions you can expect, and phraseology is very useful, as is the briefing video that they made, which was about an hour 30 long and talks about phraseology and oceanic procedures in depth. So I think it's definitely important, like I say, especially if it's your first to watch this. People who had slots in the slot lottery will have already got their bookings, but those who haven't got a slot in the lottery will have the remainder of this week to either get a slot that just gets released or that wasn't taken up by anyone in the lottery, or you can go for a trade, of course. If you go to the VATSIM Cross the Pond Discord, you might be able to get someone to trade with you, so that's something to consider. So Cross the Pond will be on Saturday. It is the biggest VATSIM event of the year. A reminder that it's not a good idea to fly on VATSIM in Cross the Pond locations. So there's a lot of areas, and they say this in the briefing, but I think it's worth highlighting on here as well. There's a lot of areas that will have controllers who don't have any traffic and who will be online and are not participating in Cross the Pond. So just try to avoid doing some flight into JFK or Boston or one of the arrival airports because you think it's funny, and then you kind of just cause even more of a clog up between all the non-event traffic and event traffic. So just fly somewhere else, or if you aren't participating, feel free to plane spot. If you're using Microsoft Flight Simulator especially, it's always fun to load up on the runway and just listen in to the airplanes landing and also the ATC. Please make sure though, please, that you're in observer mode, otherwise you will promptly get kicked off the network if you think you can just connect on a runway. But yes, there you go. So that's Cross the Pond, very exciting coming up. I have said in the WhatsApps and things what my slot will be. I'm not gonna put it out on here quite yet, but people within BVI Virtual and things know what my slot's going to be. The next thing I want to talk about is not really related, but there's been a lot of discussion over the past few months about how do we get to custom views for airplanes. Like the PMDGs, how do we get into the cabin? We couldn't really figure out how to move around because with the FT-SIM sound pack especially, you will find that it is dynamic. If you move into the cabin, you can hear you're in the cabin. If you move in front or behind the engines, you can hear the change, but we couldn't really figure out how to move. Well, I did a bit of digging and eventually found on flightsim.to someone had made a very useful 7-zip archive of various custom views, and this was not just for the PMDG, it covered various default aircraft and others. But anyway, you download it and you follow the readme instructions and put the custom view camera file and state file into the right location, and then you will have your custom views. And you use Alt 1 through 9 to transition between those views, and you can essentially they made a set of wing views, behind the wing, in front of the wing, left, right wing, things like that, so you can change views, and it's very nice. So just to alert you to that, I think it's pretty cool. So yeah, on flightsim.to, I'll see if I can find a link and put it in the description for the one that I used. Sim Update 12 was released last week. Not much has changed in terms of accessibility. I did want to point out something that has probably been around for quite a while that we had missed. I don't know who exactly pointed this out, so I can't give them credit, but it was apparently a friend of Josh, or Orings as he's known, had found out that you can actually use dash and equals to change sliders, and also to change off and on toggle options within the simulator. So for some of these where you actually we thought you had to use the controller, you can actually use dash and equals. That's not saying that, oh, this is great, you can now just use the keyboard. The controller is still probably going to be useful for scrolling, especially on areas like the gates and parking areas if you want to use that. And you'll still need the controller if you don't have a flight stick, because you really need something to take off with. But the actual navigating through options, you can actually use the keyboard. Unfortunately, key areas like the controls section, assigning new controls, looking at your sensitivities, which are, in my opinion, probably one of the areas that Microsoft really needs to focus on in terms of accessibility, or a SOBO, whatever. That would be, one of the things at the top of my list that has not been addressed. There's nothing major in Sim Update 12 that's going to affect us. Do update to the latest FSU IPC, do update to the latest First Officer Next that supports the latest FSU IPC, and then you'll be on the latest of everything, because there was an update just prior to Sim Update 12 being released. I also tried out the AI copilot. You all know my opinions on AI, and I talked about it in my last stream, but you all know my opinions on AI. I don't think it's a great thing to use. I don't think it teaches you anything. I think using the assists generally is a bit of a cheat way out, but I thought I'd try it out, especially with the custom views, because some of these aircraft, the 787, the 320neo, if you put the FT Sim sound pack in and you use the custom views that I mentioned from that guy who made them previously, it's quite nice, because you can transition from cockpit to cabin and look at your wing views. I thought I'd try a couple of AI flights out just to see if Sim Update 12 had fixed anything. Well, the long and short of it is, it's doable to land, but it hasn't really fixed anything. The AI pilot will still kind of take off and act like FSX pilot, for those who remember that back in the day, where it would very much sort of manipulate the throttles up and down. It will also not follow speed restrictions on SIDS and stars. It will, if you're on real world weather, fly below or above the assigned altitude, so you'll get nagged by ATC. It will come in too fast on approaches. It will fling out the flaps in gear to slow down, which is not how you're supposed to do things. It'll just chuck them out at 280 knots. It will put you on the runway, though, funnily enough, and it will taxi you correctly, which we knew. So nothing really changed with AI. Still pretty cool to use. I'd say if you're looking to fly something maybe slower than a TBM with AI, you're probably going to have quite a bit of luck. But if you start trying to fly jetliners, it's a bit of a wacko. It doesn't seem to know what it's doing properly. But just a bit of fun to test that out. The 737 received some updates as well from PMDG because of Sim Update 12's release. People running the beta had issues that they couldn't use the parking brake properly. PMDG released an update that fixed that, along with some other areas, when Sim Update 12 got released. So if you do update to Sim Update 12, which you'll have to, you have no choice. Microsoft and the Sobo don't give you a choice. You'll have to update PMDG from your Ops Center as well. They also mentioned that the 777 is going to enter beta at some point soon. There's no timeline being given, but I would say sounds promising, and there's potential that we could get it before the end of the year. There was no further discussion on the 737 MAX. So that's really going to be it. As I say, just make sure you update all your software. FSU IPC needs an update, First Officer needs an update, PMDG needs an update, you've got Sim Update 12. So a lot of updates. We just went to AIRAC 2303 as well. I should say, if you're in or fly in the UK airspace a lot, please update to 2303, especially if you're going to do CTP, because a lot of UK airspace just got a bit of a restructuring in AIRAC 2303. But yeah, time to update basically. Not that it changes a hell of a lot for us, but keep up with the times, keep updating, and that's the beauty of it. So I hope you enjoyed and it was useful, and whether I stream CTP or not, I'll certainly be doing it with some friends. And you know, if you're doing it, I hope you enjoy. If you're just watching, I also hope you gain some knowledge. And even if you don't feel comfortable to do across the pond with your oceanic knowledge yet, I promise you it's not as difficult as it seems. And keep an eye out for these VATSIM First Wings events that they do. They just did one this weekend, VATSIM First Wings Oceanic, where they flew somewhere out to the Azores, I think it was. But it's essentially a chance to practice your oceanic procedures without flying a 7-8 hour Atlantic flight. So keep an eye out for those. They're always very good and useful. But yeah, you know, even if you're not doing it, I hope you enjoy watching along or listening through VATSIM, whatever you're doing. As I say, you can always connect up at an arrival or departure airport and listen as an observer. But either way, hopefully it all goes well for us and we have no sim issues. You know, sims love to be temperamental, especially during big events. So to the sim gods, just please, you know, for one day, just let the sims work. Yeah, it's going to be a busy event. I think they had over 3,000 connections during COVID, is what they said, 2020. So might not be quite that busy, but it's going to be a great day. Hopefully, a great day out. All right. Well, yeah, as I say, hopefully this was useful, and CTP goes well, and we'll see you in the next video.